You've seen it. Maybe you've even filmed it. Your dog is lying on their side, completely asleep. And then the paws start moving. Little twitches at first. Then full running motions, the lips pull back, a muffled bark escapes. And everyone watching says the same thing. Oh, he's chasing a squirrel. It's a nice thought. A simple explanation for something that looks simple. But what if it's wrong? What if the thing happening inside your dog's brain right now isn't an action film? What if it's something closer to an emotional documentary? The question most people ask is, do dogs dream? But that question was answered decades ago. The real question, the one almost nobody thinks to ask, is who do they dream about? What does the dream actually do to their brain? And does it change something inside them by morning? The answer to those questions might change the way you look at the dog sleeping at your feet right now. Before we can talk about dreams, we need to talk about sleep. Your dog sleeps 12 to 14 hours a day. That's not laziness. It's architecture. Dog sleep is structured in a fundamentally different way from yours, and understanding that structure is the key to understanding what's happening when those paws start twitching. In 2014, researchers at Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest attached electrodes to family dogs, not sedated lab animals, but pets sleeping in their own homes. What they found was a complete sleep architecture, full cycles of non-REM and REM sleep, just like humans, but with one key difference. Each cycle lasts only about 20 minutes, and REM, the phase where dreaming happens, makes up roughly 10% of total sleep time. That means your dog enters a dream state multiple times every single night. Here's where the two phases split. During non-REM sleep, the body is doing the heavy lifting, muscles repair, energy restores, heart rate drops. But during REM, rapid eye movement sleep, something very different happens. The eyes move rapidly beneath closed lids. The body enters a state called atonia, temporary paralysis that prevents acting out movements. But the brain? The brain lights up! Neural activity during REM is nearly identical to waking. Your dog's body is asleep, their brain is wide awake, and that's exactly when dreams happen. But here's where it gets really interesting. In 2001, researchers at MIT, Matthew Wilson and Kenway Louie, did something remarkable. They recorded the firing patterns of hippocampal neurons in rats while the rats ran through a maze during the day. Then they recorded the same neurons during REM sleep at night. The patterns matched, not roughly, not approximately. The exact same sequence of neural firing that occurred during the maze replayed during the dream. The brain wasn't resting. It was reviewing, replaying the day's most important experiences in precise neural detail. Now, that was rats. But here's the critical bridge. Memory replay during sleep isn't a rat trick, it's a mammalian feature. Every species with a hippocampus, the brain structure responsible for forming and organizing memories, shows evidence of this replay mechanism. And dogs don't just have a hippocampus, they have a well-developed one, shaped by thousands of years of navigating complex social environments alongside humans. Which means every night, while your dog sleeps beside you, the day's memories are being pulled from storage and played back. The walk, the treat, the moment you came home, all of it replaying in sequence. But that raises the obvious question. What exactly is your dog replaying? Are they dreaming about squirrels, about the park, about the cat next door? In 2015, Deirdre Barrett, a clinical psychologist at Harvard who spent decades studying human dreams, turned her attention to dogs. Based on everything comparative neuroscience tells us about how mammalian brains process memory during sleep, Barrett concluded that dogs most likely dream about their everyday activities, and most of all, about the people they're bonded to, not instinct. Not prey drive. Relationships. The faces and voices that define their waking world are likely the ones that fill their sleeping one. And here's a piece of evidence that makes Barrett's conclusion even harder to dismiss. In 2014, Attila Andix and his team at Eötvös Loránd University placed fully awake, unrestrained dogs inside an fMRI scanner. What they found was a dedicated voice processing area in the dog brain, a region that responds selectively to human voices. Not dog barks, not environmental sounds, human voices. And it responded most strongly to voices carrying positive emotion, happy tones, warm tones, the kind of voice you use when you greet your dog at the door. In the neural architecture of your dog's brain, you are not just background noise, you have a dedicated address. But Andix didn't stop there. In 2016, his team published a follow-up study. This time, they tested whether the dog brain could distinguish between different emotions in human voice. And it could. The auditory cortex responded differently to happy voices versus sad voices, joyful versus distressed. And here's the part that stopped researchers in their tracks. The way the dog brain processed those emotional distinctions was structurally parallel to the way the human brain does it. The same neural pathways, the same priority. Reading the emotional state of a social partner. Two species, same wiring, same mission. Now, follow the logic. During the day, your dog's brain is encoding not just the sound of your voice, but the emotional signature inside it. Happy, stressed, calm, irritated. Each emotion tagged and stored, and when REM sleep begins that night, the hippocampus starts pulling those memories back out, replaying them, which means the emotions embedded in those memories replay too. Your dog's dream doesn't just contain images of the day, it carries a soundtrack, and that soundtrack is your voice. But it's not just voice. In 2017, Bunford and colleagues published a study that changed the conversation entirely. They showed that dogs don't process voice and facial expressions separately. The dog brain integrates them, combines your tone of voice with your facial expression to build a single, unified emotional representation. Think about what that means for dreaming. Your dog isn't replaying isolated sounds, not just images. They're replaying complete emotional experiences. The full texture of a moment, your face, your voice, the feeling of being near you, all woven together into one coherent memory. That's what fills the dream. So what about the whimpering? You hear your dog cry in their sleep and your instinct says nightmare. But here's what the data actually shows. In 2017, Temesi and her colleagues at Eötvös-Loránd University studied how pre-sleep emotional experience shapes the structure of REM. Dogs who had a negative emotional experience before sleep, something stressful, something unfamiliar, entered REM that was longer and deeper than usual. The brain wasn't trapped in a bad dream, it was allocating more processing time, more resources. Because the emotional material was heavier. The whimpering you hear isn't suffering, it's the sound of a brain doing harder work. And here's why that matters. In 2009, Matthew Walker and Els van der Helm at UC Berkeley proposed what they called the overnight therapy hypothesis. During REM sleep, the brain performs a remarkable operation. It takes an emotional memory and strips the emotional charge from it. The event stays, the facts remain, but the raw intensity, the fear, the stress, the shock gets reduced. It's not erasing, it's editing, keeping the lesson while releasing the pain. The whimpering your dog makes at 2 a.m.? That's not a cry for help, that's the sound of emotional surgery. The brain is healing, and it needs you to let it finish. Here's the mechanism that makes this possible. During waking hours, your dog's brain is flooded with norepinephrine, a stress hormone that keeps the body alert, ready to react. But the moment REM sleep begins, something extraordinary happens. Norepinephrine levels drop to nearly zero. It's the only stress hormone that shuts off completely during sleep, and that's not an accident. It's a design feature. The brain creates a chemically safe environment, a space where traumatic or stressful memories can be replayed without triggering a fight or flight response. Your dog can re-experience the scary moment from earlier today without the fear. That's how healing works. Not by forgetting, by remembering safely. But emotional processing isn't the only job. In 2017, Kiss and her team made another discovery. They measured something called sleep spindles, brief bursts of neural activity during non-REM sleep that neuroscientists associate with memory consolidation. Dogs who learned new commands during the day produced significantly more sleep spindles that night, and the next morning, they recalled those commands better. Sleep isn't just processing emotions, it's locking in skills. The sit you taught your dog at 3 in the afternoon is being physically wired into their brain at 3 in the morning. Learning doesn't stop when the eyes close. In many ways, that's when it truly begins. And here's where the story takes its deepest turn. Jacques Panksepp, the neuroscientist who literally coined the term affective neuroscience, spent decades mapping the emotional circuits of the mammalian brain. By 2011, he had identified 7 core systems: seeking, play, care, panic, grief, rage, lust. These aren't metaphors, they're physical circuits, measurable, mappable, and conserved across mammals. From rats to cats to dogs to humans. The same architecture, the same chemistry, and critically, these circuits don't shut off during REM. They remain active, which means your dog doesn't just replay images during dreams. They replay emotions, real ones, through circuits that evolution built long before humans and dogs ever met. But perhaps the most extraordinary finding comes from Emory University. Gregory Burns trained dogs to lie still inside an fMRI scanner while fully awake. Then he presented them with different scents: familiar humans, unfamiliar humans, other dogs, and food. He measured which scent triggered the strongest response in the caudate nucleus, the brain's reward center, the part that lights up for things that matter most. The winner wasn't food, it was the owner. Your scent activated your dog's reward center more powerfully than anything else in the experiment. In the neural reward map of your dog's brain, you are at the very top, not because you provide resources, because you are the resource. So let's put it all together. Dogs replay memories during REM sleep. Their brains process emotions through conserved circuits that have existed for millions of years. They encode your voice, your face, and your emotional state into unified representations. Your scent activates their reward center more strongly than food, and sleep spindles consolidate everything that mattered most during the day. If all of that is true, and the converging evidence says it is, then the logical conclusion is this. You appear in your dog's dreams, not as a photograph, not as a scene, as a feeling, the feeling of safety, of reward, of connection. Behaviorally, everything we know points in the same direction. In your dog's sleeping brain, you are the main character. And here's one more detail that often surprises people. Stanley Coren, a neuropsychologist at the University of British Columbia who has spent decades studying canine cognition, found that breed size affects dream architecture. Small dogs cycle through REM more frequently, roughly every 10 minutes. Their dreams are shorter but more numerous. A Chihuahua may dream dozens of times in a single night. Large dogs, on the other hand, dream less often, but each dream lasts longer. A Great Dane's dream might be a slow, extended replay of the day. Same mechanism, different rhythm. But in every case, large or small, the content remains the same. The day, the people, the bond. Now, one thing worth knowing. If your dog is whimpering in their sleep, paws twitching, lips moving, maybe even a soft bark, your first instinct may be to wake them up, to comfort them. But here's what the science tells us. Interrupting REM sleep disrupts both emotional processing and memory consolidation. The brain is in the middle of something important, stripping emotion from difficult memories, strengthening new skills, replaying the bonds that matter most. Waking your dog during this process is like pulling a surgeon's hand mid-operation. The intention is kind, the effect is not. Watch, stay close, but let the brain finish its work. And here's something that puts real power in your hands. Temesi's research showed that the emotional quality of your dog's day directly shapes the architecture of their sleep that night. A day filled with positive experiences, play, exploration, calm interaction produces lighter, more efficient REM. A stressful day, loud environments, conflict, isolation produces REM that's longer, deeper, and harder working. In other words, how you treat your dog during the day determines what their brain has to process at night. A good day gives the brain an easy shift. A hard day gives it overtime. You are not just their owner during waking hours. You're the author of their dreams. And there's one more thing. Where your dog chooses to sleep is not random. It's not about the softest cushion or the warmest corner. When your dog curls up next to you at night, pressed against your leg, lying at the foot of the bed, wedged into the narrow space between you and the wall, they're choosing the location where their brain feels safest to do its most vulnerable work. REM sleep is when the brain is most exposed. Emotions are raw, defenses are down, memories are being rewritten, and your dog chooses to do all of that next to you. Not because of warmth, because of trust. Your presence is the secure base their sleeping brain needs. One important note. Normal REM behavior includes occasional twitching, soft vocalizations, and brief paw movements. That's healthy, that's expected. But if your dog regularly startles awake in a panic, if the whimpering is prolonged and intense, if you notice labored breathing during sleep or your dog seems confused and disoriented after waking, those are different signals. They could point to a sleep disorder, pain, cognitive changes, or other medical conditions. Your job isn't to diagnose, it's to notice. And if something feels different from the usual sleep twitching, your vet can help sort out what's happening. So, the next time your dog whimpers at 2 a.m., the next time those paws start running and that soft cry fills the room, remember this. They're not chasing a squirrel. Their brain is replaying a day spent beside you, pulling memories from storage, running them through circuits that evolution built 100 million years ago, stripping the stress, keeping the signal. And the signal, the one their brain holds onto above everything else, is you. Your dog is dreaming right now, and in that dream, in a language that has no words, built from neurons and chemistry and 10,000 years of choosing to stay close to us, you are the main character. Not because you feed them, not because you open the door, because in the neural map of their sleeping brain, you are the strongest signal for safety, for reward, for connection. And every night while you sleep, their brain confirms it. The research here is remarkably consistent.